Hi, it's Tanya from My Forking Life, and today we're in the kitchen and we are making biscuits. But we're gonna make blueberry biscuits and we're gonna bake those biscuits in our air fryer. Now, before we get started, don't forget, if you like these kinds of videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I upload a video. Also, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. All right, let's go ahead and get started because biscuits are so fast and easy and delicious. All right, so we're gonna start with some self-rising flour. I've actually opted to make my own. I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour that I'd added 3 teaspoons of baking powder and half a teaspoon of salt to make my all-purpose flour for this recipe. Or you could just buy some, not all-purpose, I made self-rising flour, or you could just buy some self-rising flour. All right, I've got some very cold butter and shortening that I've cut into small pieces for this. And I'm just gonna dump that in my bowl. You kind of want to work quickly and you want to make sure you use really cold ingredients. That is what I learned when I took a biscuit making class at the Bojangles test kitchen. That was super fun and I learned a lot about making biscuits, except they did not give me their recipe, which why would they? But they make their biscuits from scratch every day and they're absolutely amazing. All right, so I'm using here a pastry, whatever this thing is called, a pastry blender thing to break that butter and shortening into this flour. You could use your fingers or you could use forks, but the purpose is you don't want to get that butter or shortening really warm. So that's why I like using this tool. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to break this up into smaller pieces, not too small, but to about the size of peas. These are some rather large peas in here. So all those big chunks, I kind of just want to get them evenly distributed in that flour. And because I'm making blueberry biscuits, I want these to be sweeter. So I'm going to actually add some sugar to that mixture. I'm adding a whole 1/4 cup. Just regular white granulated sugar. We make sure that gets mixed in throughout as well. All right, I think that's good enough. Now I'm going to pour in some buttermilk. I've got here about 3/4 cup of buttermilk. I may or may not use all of this buttermilk. How much buttermilk you add to your biscuits is going to depend on the kind of flour, the humidity, so many different factors. So we're going to just be careful and watch it. And again, these are really cold ingredients. So I'm going to pour in a good bit, still got some left, and see what this looks like. I can already tell I'm going to need more, but I don't want to add too much because if you add too much buttermilk, what ends up happening is your dough gets crazy sticky and it's just hard to work with. Let me add this a little bit more. And I want that dough combined and moistened, but I don't want it like gloopy. If it were to become gloopy and you just added too much, you could totally just make them into drop biscuits rather than folding them out. Let's see. I can already tell that I'm gonna need all of it. So I'm just gonna add that. See, some of that dough is sticking to there. So I'm gonna actually, you can see it's still a little bit crumbly, but it's definitely moist. And I'm gonna be able to form that into I'm gonna be able to form that so that I can actually cut biscuits out of it. All right, so I've got my blueberries here. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour on those blueberries by themselves, just so that they fold better into my dough. I'm just gonna pour that into the dough. And I'm gonna switch to my hands, they're clean. And I'm gonna just kind of get the blueberries in that dough. And I'm now gonna move this over to a floured surface. So same surface here, I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour. Make sure it's clean, sanitize. And I'm actually just gonna dump this on there. And I'm going to work this until it kind of forms together. You can see some of that flour didn't want to get cohesively in there, but that's fine. We're gonna make it work. And you don't want to knead it too much because overworking biscuit dough, it will lead to actually tough biscuits. All right. I think that's good. All right, and I'm a patter. You could totally roll your biscuits out with a what are those things? A rolling pin. What are those things? But I'm gonna just pat it out, and I'm gonna try to pat it out too. It's about 3/4. That's about more than 3/4, but about 1 inch thick. And when you're making biscuits, if you find that your dough is getting too sticky, you can always use additional flour, but don't add it to the dough, just add it to your tools. So right now my hand, move that out the way, my hand is my tool, and that's what I'm gonna use to flatten this out. All right, so I've got a biscuit dough cutter here, and I'm gonna flour that as well. Always flour your tools. This is about 2.5 biscuit dough cutter, and I'm just gonna use that to cut out these biscuits. I'm just gonna actually just cut it out. That came out actually. That's pretty thick. It's about 1 inch. And you probably can't hear it, but I'm actually cutting through some of these blueberries because they're fresh blueberries, which is fine. So because I rolled this out really thick, I may not get a ton of biscuits out of here because these are a whole inch thick. And rather than so I've got here a lot of scraps. Rather than re-roll that, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to break those out and kind of just stick them in, put that blueberry in there, stick them in the biscuit cutter and put them together. Because sometimes reworking that dough, it just gets super sticky. Actually, I could put more in there. It gets super sticky and super hard to really work with it. So with that remaining, those scraps, I kind of just do that and form biscuits. Some of them might look a little janky, but they're from scratch. All right, so I've got here 9 biscuits that are ready for baking. All right. All right. Now we're going to add these to our air fryer basket. I'm going to use a parchment paper liner. And that's just because I don't want the biscuit dough to stick to the grates. And I'm just going to place these in the basket. I'm going to try to make sure that they're not touching so they rise a little bit better. And there we go. Let's see if I can squeeze this one in here. All right. And I'm actually gonna bake these biscuits. Usually biscuits in my other air fryer are usually about 400 degrees for 9 to 10 minutes. This air fryer, I'm a little bit familiar with it. This is my Philips. It's probably gonna take around 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm gonna start checking on them at 10 minutes just to see if they're nice and done. But we're gonna go ahead and add these to our air fryer. Alrighty. All right, so our biscuits are baking in our air fryer on 400 degrees. I'm going to check on them at about 10 minutes. All right, I'll be back after I straighten this up. So while our biscuits are baking, I'm gonna go ahead and create the vanilla powdered sugar glaze that's gonna go on top of those blueberry biscuits. I've got here about a cup of powdered sugar. Ooh, that's a lot. It's a nice, healthy cup of that. And then I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. I spilled that. I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of milk, regular milk, not buttermilk, just regular old milk. This is 2% milk. I had it in the fridge. We're just going to do about 3 tablespoons of that. And just mix that together until you get a nice little glaze. And we're gonna set that to the side, and we're going to drizzle this over our biscuits as soon as they're done. All right, So these biscuits have been in the air fryer on 400 degrees for about 10 minutes, and they are done because they are super nice and golden. Y'all better look at those biscuits. Biscuits. So I'm gonna let these cool. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and move them to a platter, and I'm gonna let them cool a few minutes before I drizzle that glaze on them. And you can see the ones that I cut out initially have risen so pretty, so beautiful. The other ones, they're all right. All right, and now that our biscuits have cooled a little bit, I'm just gonna go ahead and drizzle this powdered sugar mixture drizzle over it. And I'm gonna use a fork just to try to get a nice equal drizzle over all of the biscuits. Just have fun with it. Drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. This is like my favorite part, just like drizzle. Alrighty. Beautiful biscuits. Biscuits. Now the ultimate taste test. Which one do I want to try? I'll take this one. All right, guys, that's it. Really easy biscuits, nice fresh blueberries, warm, delicious from scratch. All right, until the next time,